Hey, this is Lewis from SoFly. In this video, I'll show you how to use Oxygen to design a page. You'll learn how to create a header, hero section, page content sections, a footer, how to make it all responsive, how to use Oxygen's builder elements, how to use classes to apply the same styles to multiple elements, all about layout, spacing, how to set your fonts, etc. So by following along with this tutorial, you'll get a very good overview of how to design pages with Oxygen. So let's start by making a header. So to add elements to my page, I'll go to Add, and then I'll go to Helpers, Header Builder. And then I will go ahead and add a logo to my header. So I will go Add, Basics, Image, and this will be my logo image. So now I'll upload my logo. Over on the left, I have the image URL field. I'll click Browse, and then I'll click Select Files to upload a logo. Here is the SoFly logo. Click Select Image, and now this is the logo image. Now I can adjust the width and height here. So let's shrink the height of this image. It's too tall. Okay, that's a more reasonable size for the logo. And now I will go ahead and add a menu to the header. So to do that, I will click Add, WordPress, Menu. Now I've added a menu in. Just show some example links right now. I can go in the WordPress admin panel and actually create this menu. Let's drag this over to the right side of the header builder. Whoops, I accidentally let go in the center. There's the right, and there we go. So to move elements around the page, you simply drag and drop them where you want. Header Builder by default stacks horizontally, so you can drag items from left and right. Most other elements stack vertically unless you change the setting. So let's go ahead now and create a hero section. So go Add, Basics, Section. Most content you design in Oxygen is going to go inside of sections. So inside this section, I'm going to put in a heading. So I'll go Add, Heading. I'm also going to have a video. So go Add, Video. And then below the video, I'm going to have a link. So I'll add a link here. This will be my call to action button below the video. Now let's adjust the styles of this. So the first thing I want to do is align everything in the section center. So to do that, I'll click on the section, and then under the layout controls here, I'll choose child element layout, stack elements vertically, and horizontal item alignment, center. That will center everything in the section. Now I'm going to create styles for my headline. So I'm going to click the headline to style it. Now, rather than style this headline individually, I'm going to create a class that applies to all of my headings, and that way I can style them all at the same time. So to do that, go over to Choose Selector to edit, click, and specify a class name. I'll call this Primary Heading. Now I will set the text color to black, font weight to 300, font size to, let's try 48. And then to edit the text of the heading, I'll just double click to edit the text, click more to highlight, and type in my heading, Designing Pages with Oxygen. And when you're done editing the text, you can just click outside the text editor or click Done. Now I want to add some space below the heading. So I'm going to go ahead and drag downwards on the edge of the heading to add space. Actually though, I may not want space below all of my headings using this class. So rather than add space on the heading, I'm going to add space on the video. So to do that, click the video, mouse over the edge, and then drag downwards. Now let's adjust the size of the video because this is far too wide. So to do that, I will go to Advanced, Size and Spacing, and I will set the width to 700 pixels. That's more reasonable. Let's go back to the primary tab for the video and change the aspect ratio of 4:3, 16:9, and 21:9. I'm going to go with 21:9 here. And then let's create our button. So to do that, I'm going to click this link. I'll edit the text by just double-clicking to edit the text. I'll type in click here now. And then let's create styles that apply to this link. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a class. I'm going to call this primary button. And then we will go to advanced and set up some padding. That's space inside the element. So go size and spacing, padding, and we'll go with 20 pixels everywhere to start. Actually, let's go with 40 pixels on the left and right. Let's add some space between the link and the video. So I'll click the video and drag downwards. Let's edit the link again, so I'll click that. Let's set the background color of the link. So I'll go to advanced, background, and let's choose a color. Let's go with a nice blue. Okay, that's the background color for our button. Let's go ahead now and set the text color. So I'll go to advanced, typography. Color is going to be white. Let's change the font size. Let's make it bigger. Let's try 21. Let's go with 24. And let's adjust the font weight. Let's make it bold. Let's change the font smoothing to anti-aliased. I like to use anti-aliased font smoothing when I'm using light text on a colored or dark background. Okay, now we have our button. Let's go ahead now and add another section to our page. So to do that, you just click Add another section. Let's scroll down to the section. And this will be our testimonial section. So we're going to have a few testimonials in this section. Let's create sort of an alternating background color effect. So we'll have a white section, then a light gray section. So to do that, I'll just set the section background color to light gray. And then inside this section, I'm going to add a testimonial. So we'll go Add, Helpers, Testimonial. And I'm going to have multiple testimonials in this section. I want them to all look the same. So to do that, I'm going to use a class. So I'm going to click Choose Selector to edit. I'm going to call this My Testimonial. And now I'm going to duplicate the testimonial a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have 4 testimonials in this section. Now let's go ahead and style the testimonial. So click the testimonial. Let's go to Advanced Background. We'll give it a white background. Let's go to Size and Spacing. Add some padding around the testimonial, 30 pixels. Let's drag down on the bottom of the testimonial to space it out from the others, some margin. And this is too wide, so let's set a maximum width for the testimonial of 700. Let's try 800. And let's center all these. So we'll go back to the section by clicking the section. And in Child Element Layout, choose Horizontal Item Alignment of Center. Okay, now we have 4 testimonials. Let's add a shadow effect on the testimonial. So we'll go Advanced, Effects, Box Shadow, and we'll do a semi-transparent black shadow. No horizontal offset, no vertical offset, and 50 pixels of blur. It's a little too much. Let's go with 40 pixels blur and 25% transparent. Oops, don't want to click Inset. We want the shadow on the outside of the testimonial. And then let's go ahead and add a border radius to the testimonial. So let's go back to Advanced, Borders. For border radius, we'll set a 3 pixel radius. You can barely see it, but it just barely rounds the edge of the testimonial. Makes it look a little cleaner. And I'm going to add a little more spacing. And I think I'm going to tone down this shadow a little bit. It's too extreme. Let's go to Effects, Box Shadow. We'll lighten it a little bit and give it less blur. Okay, That's better. Now we have 4 testimonials. And to specify a testimonial image, we just go to image, specify our image URL. You could upload an image. I'm not going to do that right now. To edit the text, you could just double click any of the text and edit the text. Okay, now we have designed 2 sections. We've designed a hero section and a testimonial section. Let's go ahead and put a heading in this testimonial section. So to do that, we're going to duplicate this heading with the duplicate button here in the top left. And then let's drag it down to the testimonial section. Now the heading's in the testimonial section. Now we want to add some space below this heading, but we don't want to add space below this heading. So rather than add that space on the class, let's click here and choose the ID. Now we're only editing styles that apply to this specific heading. So let's drag downwards. And as you can see, that doesn't affect spacing on the other heading. Whereas if we choose the class and then edit the styles, it affects all headings that have that class applied. Okay, now we have a testimonial section. Let's create another section. So add basics section. And in this section, let's put some alternating columns with images. So first I'll put a heading in here. So add heading, and I'll add the class to my heading that'll make it look like this heading. So I'll just go choose selector to edit, enter class name, primary heading. When you add a class that already exists, it simply assigns it to the element. And we'll call this product features. Now let's click on the section and center everything in it. And now let's create our columns. So go add columns. We want a 2-column layout. So I'll click 50/50 for 2 columns. And maybe we'll have the width of the image be 60%. So I'll click on this column here and I'll give it a width of 60%. And let's add some space below this heading. So I'll choose the ID and then drag downwards. Okay, let's go back to the columns. In this column, I will add in an image. Let's go add image. And let me upload a few good images we're going to use here. So upload files, select files, and let's upload these 4 images. Okay, I want to use this one. Select image. Okay, here is our image. Now let's go ahead and add a heading and some text. So I'll click the other column, go add heading, and add text. Now I'm going to have multiple columns. I want everything to look consistent across the column. So I'm going to add a class to this column, and I'm going to call it my columns text content column. Now we're going to choose stack elements vertically, align items left, vertical item alignment of middle. And now let's create classes that apply to the heading and the text in the columns. So I'm going to call this feature heading, and I'm going to call this feature text. Now let's set the styles. Or actually, let's duplicate the columns a few times. So let's go up to the column, up to the columns, duplicate 1, 2. Now let's reverse the order of these. So let's just drag this column. Whoops, I accidentally dragged it into the other columns. Okay, that's better. And then let's reverse the order of this one. So we'll drag that over here. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, you know what? Let's reorder these columns. Let's put, no, I'll just put this one back. Okay, now we have alternating columns with images. Let's change out the images. So click an image, browse, browse. Let's add some space to these columns here. So click it, drag down, Same thing here. Okay, now we've spaced out our columns. Let's add a little more on this one. Now let's go ahead and style the text. So I'll click the heading here, and let's go with a text color of black, a font size of 36, a font weight of 300, and we'll go advanced typography line height of 1.2. And we'll put some space below it. So notice how that styles all of the headings. And then let's do the same for the text. So go text color, black, font size 21, font weight 300. Let's go typography line height of 1.4. And here we go. Now let's just fill in our text. Okay, now we have an alternating column layout. Let's add a little more space below product features just for consistency here. Looks good. Now we got testimonials and columns. Now let's add another section to our page. So go add, section, and in this section I'm going to put some icon boxes. So let's use a different background color here. I will go background color of light gray again. And let's add in, we're going to put 3 icon boxes. So let's add in another columns. Choose 33, 33, 33. And let's go to add, helpers, icon box. Now I'm going to put a class on this icon box. So again, I can style them all at one time. So let's enter a class name. I'll call this my icon box. And I'll put a class on the icon in the box. So just click the icon and my icon. Now let's duplicate the icon box and drag it into the other columns. So drag that one, whoops, drag that one over there and drag this one over here. Okay, now I've created 3 icon boxes. Let's style the icon boxes. So click the icon box, control the layout. So go to layout and spacing. Let's align it center. Let's make the space below the heading a little bit less, like that. Let's adjust the typography of the heading. So we'll go back to the icon box typography heading. Let's go with the font size of 24. A font weight of 300. Now let's stick with, let's go 500 for the font weight. And then for the text in the icon box, let's use a font size of 19, a line height of 1.4, font weight of 300. Let's actually make this a little smaller, 18. 18 looks good. And let's adjust the icon. So we'll click the icon, solid. Let's use the same icon colors we're using for the button up here. So let's go to the button, advanced background, copy this color, go down to the icon box. There's our icon color, and let's make the background color not black, but semi-transparent black like that. And let's add some space around the icon. And let's adjust the icon size. And you'll notice we're editing a class here, but the icon, it doesn't make sense to have that in a class. So when we change that, it actually won't update the icon everywhere. We can still edit the icon itself, and that changes just for the icon we're editing, whereas the styles for the icon apply everywhere. That is the beauty of Oxygen classes, that you can apply the same styles to multiple places so easily. Okay, so now we've got a hero section, testimonials, product features, icon boxes. Let's add some buttons to these features. So let's just duplicate this button, and let's drag it down to the features section. That's a long way to drag it though. So it might be easier to use the structure panel to drag it. So to use the structure panel, click structure in the top right. And this will give you an overview of everything on your page. To open the structure panel to a specific element, just click it. So here's the div that's inside our columns that contains the heading and the text. So we want to drag a button below this. So let's click that button. Here it is. And drag it into here. And that's a much easier way to drag items long distances on your page, is to use the structure panel. Okay, that's a little cramped right up against that text, so let's click text and drag down a little bit. And I'll change the text here to just be learn more. And maybe we also want to use this button not in every section, but in the bottom section here. So there we go. And now if we wanted to update the button color on our site, we could just go advanced background for the primary button class and change the button color. And that changes it everywhere we've used this class. Okay, let's put it back. I like blue. Okay, now that we've added the icon boxes, let's add another section to the page. Let's add a frequently asked questions section. So to do that, we'll go ahead and add in a section. So add basics, and then I will add a heading. I'll use that same class, primary heading. Now let's click the section, center everything, double click the heading to edit text, call this frequently asked questions. And now let's go ahead and display these in 2 columns. So we'll go add columns, 50-50, and now let's add in our questions. So I'm going to place each question in a div. That'll make it very easy to space it out from the other questions. So add a div. I'll call this FAQ question. I know that's redundant. And I will set the width to 100%. And then inside of this, I will have the title of the question itself, and the text. So add a heading. Let's change the heading tag here to H3 for SEO purposes. And I'll call this fact title, and then text. I'll add a class called fact text. Okay, now let's duplicate this fact question div a few times. And let's drag some of these into the other column. Okay, now let's add some space. So we'll just click on the fact question and mouse over the bottom to space it out. When you're dragging on the outside of an element, it creates margin. So you can see that if you go to advanced size spacing, margin. What we're really doing is simply adding bottom margin here. Let's close the structure panel so we can see everything in full size. Okay, let's fill these out with questions. Okay, you get the idea. I'm not going to fill all of these out, but I'll fill out some of them. Let's add some spacing above the columns. And there we go. Now we have a frequently asked questions section. So page is looking pretty good. We're almost done designing a page. Okay, let's add a call to action section at the bottom. Let's go section. Let's add in a heading. And let's add in a text link. And let's use the same class for the text link, primary button, and same class for the heading, primary heading. And there are a couple ways we could lay this out. We could lay it out vertically, stack child elements vertically, align center, but let's organize this one horizontally. So we choose stack child elements horizontally, and we'll use space between the elements. Now, let's just adjust the text so everything fits here. So and let's change the background color of this section to a light gray. And here we go. Now we have designed a call to action section. Now let's add in a footer. Let's go add section. And in the footer, I'm going to put a little copyright notice. So I'll add some text. Let's center everything. Copyright. To get a copyright symbol on a Mac, you hit Option G when you're typing, and that will give you a copyright symbol. If you're on Windows, I'm very sorry. Copyright SoFly 2018. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And let's put the logo above the copyright symbol. So let's go up here, duplicate the logo. Let's open the structure panel and drag one of these logos down to the bottom section. Whoops, let's get it inside the section. And there we go. And let's add some space below the logo. Okay, cool. Now we have designed a page. Now let's put some finishing touches on it. Let's make it responsive. Let's add some effects. So let's add a hover style for the button. So to do that, we'll click the button, and we're going to use state to add a hover state. So right now we're using a background color of blue. Let's highlight that and copy it. Then let's go to state, hover, and let's paste in this background color, but then adjust it. Let's make it a little bit darker on hover. So now when we hover over the button gets darker. Let's make this effect smooth. Let's give it a transition. So to do that, we'll simply go to Advanced, Effects, Transition, and we'll give it a transition duration of 0.5 seconds. That's the amount of time it'll take for the background color to change when switching between the original and hover states. So now we get a nice smooth animation of the button. Okay, now let's go ahead and make all of this responsive. Actually, before we do that, let's adjust our global fonts. So go Manage, Settings, Global Styles, Fonts. So the default fonts with Oxygen are usually Source Sans Pro and Open Sans, or Open Sans and Open Sans. Let's change the display font. Display font is for headings. Let's change this to Allegra Sans small caps. And then let's change the text font to Allegra Sans. So you can use any font on Google Fonts in this list. You can also integrate Oxygen with Typekit or custom fonts, but that's a topic for another video. So to find the font, you just start typing the name of it. Since there's so many fonts on Google, we couldn't list them all in this dropdown, so just type the font you want, and it'll show up in the dropdown. Okay, now we've changed our font, so our page looks quite a bit nicer with the custom fonts. Let's not use small caps. Let's just use Allegra Sans. If we want a caps effect on our headings, what we could do is just go to the heading, and for font family, set Allegra Sans small caps on the headings only. Okay, looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and close the settings panel and make this responsive. So to see how the design looks at smaller screens, you click the device icon to get the media query dropdown, and then choose your width from the dropdown. So here it is at 1120, here it is less than 992, here it is at less than 768, and here it is at less than 480. So I'm already seeing a problem with the video here. That's it, it's too wide. So that means I made a mistake. What mistake did I make? I set the video's width to 700 pixels. That's a bad idea because at 480 pixels, the video is still 700 pixels wide, which is too wide, wider than the device. So let's go back to all devices. Instead of setting the width to 700, set the max width to 700. Now the video will never be wider than 700 pixels, but it will be allowed to be narrower than 700 pixels. Okay, the hero section is now responsive. Let's go ahead and make these testimonials responsive. So go to the testimonial, go to layout, and we're just going to go with a vertical layout below a certain amount. So testimonial looks good here, looks good at 1120, looks good at 992, stops looking good. It looks okay at 768, but we could go vertical. So we're just going to choose vertical layout below 768 and mobile content alignment of center. And now our testimonials are responsive. Okay, our product features are responsive, but there is a tweak we can make. Columns in Oxygen are automatically responsive. When the screen gets small, they start to stack vertically. If I click at columns, you'll see stack columns vertically at less than 992 is the default. So at less than 992, these go vertical. But because the columns are alternating, right? We have an image first here, but we have the image last here. The columns don't display in the same order when displayed vertically. We end up with image, text, but then text, image. So we want to reverse the order of the second set of columns. So to do that, we'll just go to the second set of columns, and we'll choose reverse column order at less than 992, which is when they go vertical. Now we have image, text, and image text, which is what we want. Yet they alternate on desktop. So that's pretty good. Okay, now let's make the icon boxes responsive. So less than 1120, all good. Less than 992, scroll down to the icon boxes. That might be too soon to start stacking them vertically. Or maybe we could constrain the width of the icon boxes. Let's click an icon box and go to Advanced, Size and Spacing, Max Width, and set the max width to 480. And then let's use Auto Margin on the left and right to center it. Let's turn it down even more. Let's go max width 400. And this max width setting will only apply at less than 992. So at 1120, when these columns don't stack vertically, the icon box doesn't have a max width. At less than 992, it does. And it looks like this. Okay, that's pretty good. Now to make our frequently asked questions responsive, we probably want to align the text left in all of them. So let's just click one of the frequently asked questions, FAQ question class, stack vertically, align left. And actually I should set that on the desktop. I didn't need to set it here. So less than 480 pixel styles, let's just delete those, go up to all devices, and set the text to align left. Okay, now our frequently asked questions are responsive. And now let's make the call to action section responsive. So looks good here, stacked horizontally, but it'll start to get cramped as the screen gets narrower. When we get to less than 992, it's cramped. So what are we going to do about that? We're going to choose stack child elements vertically, and then let's add some space below this heading. Only this one. So we'll go to the ID, drag in some space. And we also want to align the text in the center. Let's go text align center. And there we go. We now have a responsive website designed with Oxygen. Okay, this is Lewis from SoFly. I hope after watching this video you have a good idea of how to use Oxygen to design your pages. Thank you very much for watching.